He is going to speak on the topic Zionism and global imperialism, historical and contemporary realities.
Zionist regime as the Palestinian birthplace continues to outpace the Jewish population growth. Exactly, if you just look at the future trend of the US migration, it will depend on the economic and negative sign of the Zionist regime as the Palestinian birthplace continues to outpace the Jewish
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon to all my dear brothers and sisters here, and a special salam to His Excellency Hujjatul Islam wal Muslimin Sheikh Sayyid Ibrahim YAQOUB ZAKZAKY Hafizullah Ta'ala, and other dignitaries and the guests present in this seminar. I am Altamash Haider and I would like to thank the team for inviting me to speak in this session. The topic I'll be discussing today is Zionism and global imperialism, historical and contemporary realities. Although this is a crucial topic, especially now to understand that how these forces have shaped our world and continue to affect us. Let's begin by exploring the history of the Zionism. Zionism began in the late 19th century. In 1862, Moses has published Rome and Jerusalem, advocating for the return of the Jews to Palestine, and this was followed by the first Aliyah in 1882, when the Jews started moving to Palestine from the Eastern Europe. Theodor Herzl, a key figure in Zionism, published a pamphlet Der Judenstaat, the Jewish state, in 1896, outlining his vision for a Jewish homeland. In 1897, the first Zionist Congress was held in Basel, Switzerland, leading to the founding of the World Zionist Organization and the adoption of the Basel Program, which called for a home for the Jewish people in Palestine. In the early 20th century, another wave of Jewish immigrants, known as the Second Aliyah, arrived from the 1904 to 1914, laying the foundation for the Kibbutz movement. The Balfour Declaration in 1917 was a significant milestone where the British government supported establishing a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine itself. This was further confirmed in 1920 during the San Remo Conference, where the League of the Nations mandated Britain to govern Palestine, incorporating the Balfour Declaration. Let's move to the Zionism and colonialism. Zionism's relationship with the colonialism is deeply connected. Zionism emerged as a response by the European Jews to discrimination and the challenge of the Jewish identity. It couldn't have succeeded without the colonial tools and the support of the imperialistic powers. The Western view of the Islamic countries during the colonial era actually helped lay the foundation of the political Zionism. Zionist activists, on the other hand, justifying the creating a state for themselves in the Islamic territories by denying the right of the people who are living there, much like the colonial powers did in the history. On the other hand, the Herzl, the founder of the modern political Zionism, engaged in the talks with the various colonial powers, including Britain, Portugal, Belgium, and Italy, to establish a Jewish state. This shows the Zionism was a colonial project, relying on the support of the European imperialistic powers. As we can see on the slide, that British Zionist collaboration actually happened as a result of this whole pandemonium. The Balfour Declaration of 1917 was a key moment for the Zionism. Britain actually expressed the support for the Jewish homeland in the Palestine. During the British mandate, Zionist institutions were prepared for the political independence with the Britain's help. Britain gave the Zionist group autonomy in various sectors and provided military training, which eventually led to the declaration of the State of Israel in 1948. Let's have a look at the Gandhi's perspective on the Zionism. Mahatma Gandhi viewed the creation of the Jewish state in the Palestine as unjust and not religiously justified. In an essay from the 1938 about the Arab and the Jew question in the Palestine and the persecution of the Jews in the Germany, Gandhi stated as, "The cry for the national home for the Jews does not make much appeal to me. The sanction for it sought in the Bible and the tenacity with which the Jews have hankered after the return to the Palestine. Why should they?" To whom he is referring to? Why should Palestinian, like other peoples of the earth, make that country their home where they are born and where they earn their livelihood? Let's have a look over the Zionism and the modern imperialism. With the decline of the British colonialism, the United States became the main supporter of the Zionist project. During the Cold War, the special relationship between Israel and the United States was solidified, with Israel become a strategic ally in the Middle East. That was actually evident during the 1973 Yom Kippur War, when the United States provided extensive military support to Israel. What are the contemporary realities? Today, Israel relies heavily on the support from the Western power, especially the United States. This relationship continues to evolve without the support of this power. The large-scale immigration of the Jews to Palestine and the continued existence of Israel would not have been possible. Exactly, because conversely, we see the Israel's presence in the region helped to secure the interests of the colonial powers. What about the reverse migration trends? Recently, media outlet of the Zionist regime, like the official radio and the Maariv newspaper, actually reported an increase in the reverse migration from the occupied territories to the European countries. This actually highlights the internal instability and the challenges faced by the Zionist regime. As Razavi has pointed out, the population issues have always been a security threat for the Zionist regime. Since the occupation of the Palestine, bringing Jews from all over the world to the land has been a crucial. Despite natural population growth, Jews could not compete with the Palestinian, whose population growth has been remarkable. Alhamdulillah. Efforts to bring the Jews to Palestine have been consistent, with the establishment of the Ministry of Immigration and Absorption working with the Jewish Agency for the Israel and the Zionist organization in the United States as well as in the Europe. However, the population issues have the two opposing dimensions, like immigration versus reverse migration. Historically, if you see that during the times of the fever crisis and the war, and there was higher immigration of the Jews, conversely during the serious war and nationwide intifada, reverse migration increased recently. There has been no significant discussion of the reverse migration, but there has also been no significant migration of Jews to the occupied Palestine itself. This stagnation is actually a negative sign of the Zionist regime, as the Palestinian birth rate continues to outpace the Jewish population growth. Exactly, if you just look at the future trend of the reverse migration, it will depend on the economic and the security condition of the regime. Most of the Jewish immigrants to the occupied Palestine have come from the countries with the lower economic welfare levels, like Russia and the Eastern Europe. In contrast, the fewer migration occurred from the Western Europe and the America itself, where the living conditions are generally better than the occupied Palestine. Right now, if you can see on the social media itself, quite exemplary. The deceptive slogan of the Zionists do not resonate in America and the Western Europe. However, the Jews and the Latin America, South America and the Eastern Europe, Russia and some other Asian countries continue to form a part of the Jewish immigrants to occupied Palestine. The result is that Jews who sought to immigrate to occupied Palestine have almost done so, indicating that one cannot count on the Jewish immigration to sustain the population instead. Reverse migration is a potential reality, threatening one of the main pillars of the Zionist regime. End of occupation. When we say end of Israel, it does not mean that the eradication of the population, but rather the end of the occupation rule over the Palestinian land. As Imam Khamenei has stated, the call is for an end of occupation, not the people. It is about justice and the return of the rights to the Palestinian people. Before moving toward the conclusion, here's a tribute to the martyrs. We cannot forget that day, July 2014, our eminent Sheikh ZAKZAKY's 3 sons and the 9 others were attained martyrdom during an attack by the regime. This tragic day is marked annually worldwide to sympathize the plight of the Palestinians under the Israeli occupation. There have been many instances where the armed forces have opened fire on the peaceful demonstration in support of the Palestine. The choice of the July 25th and 27th as International Quds Day served that remember these tragedies and the honor the sacrifice of those who stood for justice. Today it is the honor to address the father of the martyrs who gave their lives on the path of Al-Quds. Their sacrifice reminds us the ongoing struggle and the sheer bond of the resistance against oppression. And at the conclusion, in the historical and contemporary realities of the Zionism and the global imperialism reveal a complex and deeply interconnected relationship. Zionism, rooted in colonialist ideology, continue to rely on the support of the imperialistic powers to maintain its existence. However, the internal and external challenges facing Israel today indicate that the regime is on a precarious ground. As we witness the ongoing atrocities and the violations of the human rights in the Palestine, it is crucial to understand the historical context and the contemporary implication of the Zionism. By doing so, we can better comprehend the struggle of the Palestinian people and the broader geopolitical dynamics at play. We can make a supplication to the Allah that may Allah hasten the appearance of the last Hujjah Imam Zaman Ajallahu Ta'ala Faraj Sharif. Thank you for your attention. May Allah guide us towards the justice and truth. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalam.